Hello, everyone. It's good to be with you again. Kind of hoping this place doesn't look very familiar to you. That wouldn't be a great thing. But I'm guessing some of you are also feeling like this perhaps could just as well be your home. Kind of this quarantine, isolation bit, it gets old and it feels like we're kind of trapped. And so hopefully none of you would trade where I am for where you are. But with where the current state of life and with our series that we're going through, this place seemed relevant and like a good place to film this morning. We're going through a series on Colossians. We've been calling it Rooted, and it's Paul kind of calling people back to what's the foundation, to what's core, what really matters. And so Paul's writing this book from jail. He's writing it to the church in Colossae. And so what we have this morning is we have a message in lockdown. At the end of the previous chapter, we talked about this last week, Paul kind of lays out guidelines for a new way of home life, a new way of relationship. And this morning, we're going to be talking about how he kind of calls us to a new way of life, how we conduct ourselves outside of the home. I get this picture of Paul writing this, just kind of having to maybe it's from the movies, but smuggle in contraband to get paper, to get stuff. I'm sure that's not the case, but I just have that fun picture in my head. With a message like this, what is it? What is worth writing down and informing a church about? His message is simply an encouragement to pray. And as we consider the message that Paul had for the church in Colossae, I think it's relevant for us today in our current situation, isolation, quarantine, whatever it is. So there's kind of three main things that we're going to talk about this morning. We're going to talk about the first one being devote yourselves to prayer with an alert mind. If our prayers are a thermostat for our heart, last week I was reading pretty cold. I was convicted just reading in the Bible, and I was convicted of my heartless prayers. I felt like I was just kind of missing the mark. And I was thinking about how much like a night watchman is kind of dutiful and purposeful in everything that they're doing. They're looking out, they're praying. My prayers were an opportunity to voice the cries of our hearts, but I felt like I was missing that opportunity. And Paul's reminding the people in here to devote themselves to prayer and to be purposeful and intentional. And last week, I shared in one of our devotionals about Psalms 44, and it's this verse that talks about how our God is our source of strength, our source of victory, our source of love, so He's worthy of our committed prayers, and whether that be prayers for healing, prayers for strength, prayers for provision, or for vaccines. God's worthy of those intentional, purposeful prayers. And this isn't just an invitation to be more intentional. There's benefits and there's health in prayers of thanksgiving. There's something about a thankful heart, a thankful prayer that reminds us of God's faithfulness. As we take into account the safety He's given us, or the way He's provided, the abundance of grace and love He pours out, we're kicking at the walls of negativity that are creeping in around us. And rather than confining us to the situation we're in, we're reminded of the victory we have through Him. And I love what Paul he talks about. Paul talks about how so that I may proclaim. He's not selfish in his time and his prayers. His heart posture is so humble. As he writes, he's not praying that the prison doors would fling wide and be open and he'd be released. He's praying for open doors of opportunity and of ministry in where he is, and he's being faithful in all that. And I love that. I love that heart of humility in Paul as he's writing from jail and could have been so concerned about the situation he was seeing around them. He was more concerned about opportunities to share the mystery of what Jesus came to earth to do with the people. The second thing is to live wisely and make the most of opportunities. It says in verse 5, be wise in the way you act towards outsiders, make the most of every opportunity. This season has provided us a lot of opportunities to be compassionate and generous. I'm so proud of our community of Morden, of Westside, and just how I'm seeing community lived out. Just a short story. Carter's birthday was a few weeks ago, and we ordered in pizza from Boston Pizza, knowing that fire trucks were doing deliveries, and it was so special to have to come outside to the sirens, but then also hearing our neighbors joining in with the firemen in singing happy birthday to Carter. And when we weren't having a party, it was so encouraging to see the neighbors and everyone kind of surround. And I was really proud of Morden and really just excited about the opportunities that are provided even in this season when things are uncomfortable and things aren't as we would have them. There's a deep sense and a care. We want to see each other thriving, and we want to see each other healthy. And I'm proud of Morden and Westside for that. And I think we're seeing the beauty of compassion and generosity, even amidst the anxiety, the fear, the hoarding, the panic buying. We're seeing genuine generosity. And I think that's something that we take with us out of this season. So I encourage you to find ways to make the most of the opportunities that are presented to you in this season. May we remember the beauty of the compassion, the beauty of the generosity that we're seeing as life will continue to change around us. And the third thing kind of Paul reminds us too is that our conversations always be full of grace, being gracious and attractive, that our speech would be gracious and attractive. The Bible has a lot to say about the danger of our tongues. However, I think for us in this season, it might be accurate to say the danger of our fingers as we type, as we on our phones and on our computers, so much more. We can type things that we quickly wish we would regret. And I think it's important in this season for us to be mindful of what we're sharing, especially now amongst all the opinions that are being posted. It's sometimes easy for the voice of Jesus, the voice of the Jesus follower, to come across as less than gracious and attractive. So if we want to make a statement in these turbulent times, be the voice of grace and beauty. And this means reminding people of the great mystery that Paul talks about what Jesus came to accomplish. Rather than feeding the system more skepticism, more anger, more fear, let's be the voice of truth and love. I imagine a lot of you are thinking about this time in lockdown and quarantine and asking, like, what are we going to hold on to now? What are the things that are dear to us now that we want to remember coming out of this season? What are the things that we want to leave behind of the old and kind of cling to in the new? And regardless of where and how we're living, these three reminders are very timely for us. They're kind of bringing us back to what Paul says matters in our life outside the home. As we continue to seek to be a place of refuge, of peace in chaotic times, these reminders to pray, to look for opportunities to reveal Jesus, and to speak lovingly are important for us regardless of the season. I wish we were together. I miss you all. Our prayers for you are that you're all doing great, you're all doing well. We're looking forward to seeing you soon. Reach out if you need something. You're loved and God absolutely thinks you're worth it.